I had the pleasure of meeting the Beatles in the 1960s. Here we are together in this photograph. And I know what you're thinking, is that really me? Yes, it's really me. And yes, it was really them, not so much in person, more in cardboard. But it's 50 years ago, longer ago than many of you were born. And you might be thinking, well, 50 years ago, 1960, 1970, who cares, really? Was it that important? Well, here's the thing. If you care about innovation in 2015, if you care about living in the moment, then we really need to look at what happened in the 60s. Because actually, the secret sauce that made the Beatles the world's most innovative band is the very same stuff that makes Google the world's most consistently innovative company. So let me just explain that. In the 1960s, John, Paul, George, Ringo, their wives, partners, various hanger-ons, went off to India to meet the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, this guy. And they stayed there for many weeks. They were learning mindfulness as a way to expand their consciousness and develop their self-awareness. And the Maharishi became known as the Beatles' guru, and suddenly meditation became something that the whole Western world was excited about, at least for a moment. And then what happened? Well, meditation, even though so many people knew how wonderful it was, meditation got caught up in the same loop and lumped together with free love and LSD and kind of put together in a bucket called 60s hippie shit. Until quite recently. And what's happened recently is the science has caught up. Neuroscience is now showing us how meditation works to change the function and the structure of the brain. So the Beatles were definitely onto something. So just as you can train your body to be fit and healthy, you can train your mind to be fit and healthy too. So I want to try an experiment. There's something that we all use all the time. You take it with you everywhere you go. You take it to the office, you take it to meetings, you take it back home, you have it in front of you when the television's on. Some of you go to the bathroom or the bedroom. It's with you always. In fact, it's by your side the whole time that it's become so familiar, you take it for granted. Do you know what I'm talking about? So I want you to take it out now and look at it. And it's not your mobile phone. It's your hand. I want you to look at your hand. I want you to actually look at your hand. Take a moment simply to notice. And from one perspective, you'll say, oh, it's just a hand. But from another, it's this inexplicable mystery. No, look at your hand. Don't look at me, look at your hand. Honestly, look at your hand. Notice the shape. Notice the lines. Notice the colour. And try not to judge it. Just look. Just be aware of your hand. Have you ever looked at this amazing part of your body quite like this before? Have you ever really noticed it? Okay, hands down. Congratulations, you just did a little bit of what the Beatles did. You just did a little bit of mindfulness training. Learning to focus your attention and developing your self-awareness is the key to better performance, leadership, and personal happiness. Those are the preconditions for performance, leadership, and personal happiness. And they're the essential ingredients of a professional leadership program that's been developed by Google with some help from the world's leading neuroscientists and some contemplative practitioners to take into their workforce. It's called Search Inside Yourself, and it's the most popular, oversubscribed, and highly rated professional development program in the history of the Google organisation. When they promote the program internally, places go in 45 seconds. And it's been running for the last 8 years. Now, my point is this, that what musicians were to the 60s, computer engineers are to 2015. They're changing the world that we live in, and they're shaping the future. And Search Inside Yourself is teaching thousands of super bright computer engineers about neuroplasticity, emotional intelligence, and mindfulness to help them lift their personal performance, their leadership abilities, and their personal happiness. What the Beatles were into and flirting with 50 years ago has now been substantiated by science and brought into the mainstream by the geeks at Google. Now, I flew in from San Francisco this morning, fresh from learning to teach the Search Inside Yourself program. I'm one of 4 Australians in training, and by 2016 we'll be able to bring this program to organisations outside Google and outside the US. And the reason that I'm so excited about that is that I'd really like to help Australian companies have happier, healthier employees and be in a position to be more creative and innovative like our friends at Google. I'd like to develop a community like that, a community, if you like, of high-performance hippies. And that, in the language of the 1960s, would be really groovy. Thank you.